Hey, what is going on, folks? It is your host, Rock D. Lee. We're jumping into Konrad Curze's Night Hunter reaction from TheRememberancer. If you guys don't know, right now I'm making it through my list, covering all the Primarchs that the homie has available for us. And once I am done with that, I want to cover the Horus Heresy. That's where I'm going to next. If you guys see me typing away, I do take notes. If you guys have comments to recommend, use the pinned comment to suggest. I don't know what I just said, but I'm trying to say, if you have things to recommend, use the pin comment to suggest content. I'm gonna go right there. I'm active on Twitter. I'm active on the gram. I do have a Patreon. We do have a YouTube for anime reactions and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in my Patreon for access to anime reactions that are uncut and or early and or that has never hit YouTube, that's what we got going on Patreon. It's actually just free to join. If you just want to chat, you can use that. And we are just going to jump into it. I do every so often pivot to cover like an orc video. I've been interested in the Battle Sisters, the Sisters of Battle videos. I'll check into like the birth of Chaos Demons. I'll do something random, just so that, I want to get to the Primarchs as fast as possible, get to the Horus Heresy as fast as possible. And I don't want to lose people if you're not interested in a particular Primarch, so I'll just do a random video in the middle of the week or so. Like I said, about orcs and stuff like that. They tend to be my favorite race. I am interested in getting to the Necron, and I do want to know more about the elves, believe it or not. But I also want to know a lot more about the Sisters of Battle, which is actually neat because the Sisters of Battle, from my understanding, don't have any special abilities. It's just willpower and grit and a rigid belief, and they're so badass. I'm actually way more interested in them than anybody else. And I can't figure out why. I don't know what about these Sisters of Battle make them so much more interesting than a lot of these other groups. It can't be the fact that they're an all-female group of badass women just going around bodying in the name of our Emperor of Mankind. That's dope, man. Let's jump into this.
Led by the tacticians throughout. It has been said by the tacticians throughout the ages of mankind that no plan survives contact with the enemy. I do not waste
Everyone has a plan until you get hit in the mouth. That's a Mike Tyson quote, man.
my time countering the plans of my foes.
I do not waste my time countering the plans of my foes. Just started the video. This doesn't mean he's going to keep this spot. But that is fire, man. See, I was already susceptible to the quote because if you guys saw my little glimpse, you guys know I'm into boxing as far as fitness goes. I'm not a professional. And his line reminded me of something that Mike Tyson said, but it was way more, sophisticated here. And he just followed up with a bar. And
Do not waste my time.
So I'm sorry if you guys are like, oh, Lee, I kind of just want to watch this video with you and you taking time. All right, quotes that he said. And I'm going to show you. He's the first Primarch that I even wanted to write a quote from. While I've heard many amazing quotes. I do not waste my time countering the plans of my foes, brother.
Countering the plans of my foes, brother.
Wait, I just missed the first part. It has been said by the tacticians throughout the ages of mankind. You know what's epic? Mike Tyson is obviously a tactician. As far as this goes, that no plan survives contact with the enemy. That is fire. And you can just imagine, you got your plan and a bow. See, when I do boxing, I know y'all here for the reaction, but when I do boxing, I'll go into the ring and I'll say, yeah, I'm just going to do my jabs. I'll make sure I pivot. I'm going to take my 2 steps back, turn to the left, turn to the right. Remember, I'm a newcomer, so I have to say a lot of this in my head. But, son, the moment, bow, you make contact, it's just instinct. You just doing? Every so often your opponent's tired and you're tired. You're like, oh, all right. So they keep hitting me or something. You know, it's like, wow, I keep getting hit in the face. You know you're getting hit in the face, but sometimes you can't, like, figure out how the F do I stop getting hit in the face? Because you're getting hit as you're thinking. It's like, ah. Anyways, man, it just really stuck with me because of where I'm at in life right now.
I do not waste my time countering the plans of my foes, brother. I never care for what they intend to do. For they will never be allowed to do it. Stir with...
Oh, he still had more? For I do not intend... I'm just gonna have to circle back to it. This is too good.
In their hearts the gift of truest
It's in the
terror,
beginning.
and all their plans are ruined in the desperate struggle.
Man, to survive. Nah, Konrad is him. Konrad is him.
The sons of the Emperor would all shoulder a burden
I gotta get the whole
during
quote.
the years of their infancy. Raised on feral, feudal, and even deaf worlds, each Primarch would be molded by the environment to which he would grow. Yet it cannot be denied the lot of some Primarchs would be starkly worse than others. For not all the Emperor's offspring would be fostered by kind or benevolent fathers.
Ooh.
For today, we shall elucidate the creature born of crime, murder, and spite. The Night Haunter of Nostramo, Konrad Curze.
Konrad Curze. What did I say? Did I say Cruz?
Of all the Primarchs of his Imperium,
I wrote it wrong.
the child of the 8th Legion would be raised
I have dyslexia,
on the
guys.
most
I'm not even
inhospitable.
joking. I seriously, it's been saying Curze the whole time. I, in no walks in life, say that phrase. My mind instantly looked at it, corrected it, and I saw curse until, like, now.
And wretched of worlds.
My bad. I do that a lot.
The world
Leon,
of Nostramo
I might say
would be
Lion,
coated
I
in
say
endless
Leon.
night. Its lullabies of the screaming of the murdered, the only solace for the
The lullabies of the screaming. I don't know what is up with me this morning, but this video is just hitting. The lullabies of screaming. Do you guys think about that word? That was choice of words. Do you know what a lullaby is? But it's like the symphony of death is equivalent to what they're saying.
inhabitants of the world. Save in the knowledge that another had died in their place that night, the Nostramans would live in an existence steeped in violence, depravity, and lawlessness. The Primarch of the 8th Legion would descend upon the planet, his gestation pod crashing through its polluted hide of the planet's largest city, Nostramo Quintus. Burrowing through the urban architecture, the gestation pod dived into the planet's crust and halted near the liquid molten core of Nostramo.
Man, I almost died. It could have been
Born
Clark.
into a world of darkness, the infant Primarch would claw his way to the surface, through the scar carved through the adamantium and mineral-rich earth. Reaching the surface, the child would be confronted by a crazed inhabitant of the planet. Seeking to consume the child for his ripe, fresh meat, the first act of the child would be to defend himself from the murderous intent of his first contact with humanity.
Crazy.
Slaying the would-be cannibal, the child would swiftly come to realize the twisted morality of his planet. Nostramo was a world drenched in despair, with no authority or power capable of culling the malevolent and desperate criminals of the planet. Poverty would be rife within the planet's society, with its main productivity derived from the world's mining industry, allowing the tormented populace to eke out a humble existence. The minority of the society would grow bloated with wealth and exploit the lawless underhives and their overpopulated peoples. With no soul on the planet, willing nor capable of adopting the young Primarch, the child would survive alone. His wits and instincts allowing the Primarch to survive off the vermin and carrion of the planet within the darkness. Plagued
Survive off the vermin and carrion on the planet.
by visions of a future he did not comprehend, the Primarch would begin to forge an identity befitting his dour and nihilistic existence. The Night Haunter.
The night. That's literally why he has that
The
name.
feral scavenger of Nostramo would begin to form a reputation among the populace.
Nah, that is cool. What a badass imagery, man. Oh, wow. Mr. Konrad Curze. Reminds me of Orochimaru from Naruto.
sightings of an uncanny presence atop the roofs and slums of Nostramo Quintus would abound, with tales of a monster preying on the most dangerous of society.
Jeez. Okay.
The screams of the Night Haunter's victims are balm to his anxieties, and dreams of countless dead upon unknown worlds shaping the Primarch's personality.
My God.
Isolation and nightmares would be his only allies within the shadows of the abandoned derelicts to which the Night Haunter would rest.
I wish I could think like
Yet with
that.
time,
I mean, right like
the
that.
Primarch of the Eighth would
I'm not
grow in
crazy.
both stature and infamy, until the entire planet knew of his deeds. Disgusted at the criminality of his homeworld, the Night Haunter would hunt the delinquents and felons of the hives. Consuming the brain matter of his victims, the Night Haunter would digest the populace's language, memories and sins
Literally.
due to his homophagia organ.
Oh,
And the
literally.
Primarch would experience
I
firsthand
forget.
the depravity and
I'm like, oh, he was figuratively eating the brains, but I forget to actually have an organ, and he literally was getting their memories or
weakness of his
experience.
people.
Wow.
Sickened at the deeds of his homeworld's people, the Night Haunter would enact his own dark crusade to purge all crime from the planet. Merciless and savage in his dealings, the Night Haunter would purge the world of sways of the populace's most revered and notorious criminals.
This is my
The
kind of hero.
tales of the avenging spectre of the planet would be hushed by the civilians within the hives, and it would not be long until the gangs of Nostramo would band together to hunt the creature down. Slaying any who would attempt to end his crusade, the Night Haunter would leave a sole survivor of each failed battle. Severing their hands and gouging their eyes, the survivors of his wrath would return to their masters bearing a simple message: I
That's a
am coming
woman.
for you.
Oh.
Instilling terror
Yeah.
within Nostramo,
Anyone can
the
get
Night
this.
Haunter would
Ready to
slowly
eat for
erode
everyone.
and silence the corruption of the ruling elite. Leaving their hanged bodies atop the hive's highest windows, often maimed and flayed in horrific displays, within a year of his reprisal, crime would cease. Confronting the rulers of the planet, the Night Haunter would make a simple demand: obey the law of the Night Haunter, or be judged.
Stood
Cowed
on
by fear,
business.
the Nostramans would relent and allow for the ascension of the so-called Dark King to rule their world.
But he's such an oxymoron because
The first monarch
he is
of
getting rid of
Nostramo
evil.
would diligently work to restructure his fiefdom, consuming the planet's historical archival knowledge with ravenous hunger and murdering the last remaining criminal elements within the forest. It would not be long until the Night Haunter would dominate the populace completely.
how could you not like
Ruling with
Konrad
emperors
Curze?
unheard of by Nostraman standards. The civilians would share their wealth equally among themselves.
Ooh.
For should they own too much, they would fear reprisal from their Dark King.
Ooh.
Within months, the planet's fortunes would abound, the fear instilled within them progressively allowing for years of prosperity and industrious toil. Broadcasting the screams of his final victims across every home of the world as a reminder that none would escape his justice, the Dark King had achieved his goal of total
It's
obedience.
like he uses evil for but
decades.
the planet is
the
better.
Night
That's what I
Haunter
love about
would have
this.
no need to hunt prey, for none would dare to defy the will of the Dark King. Yet with the arrival of the Emperor of Mankind to the planet, Nostramo's future would be sealed by its own prophecies that the Emperor would cause their downfall. Foreseeing his father's eventual reunion, the Night Haunter would prepare. Upon the Emperor's arrival, the inhabitants of Nostramo would be unable to look in the direction of the being of gleaming light. The so-called
Love that
Delegation of
image.
Light would see the populace weep at the arrival of the father of their benevolent dictator, and blind any who looked directly upon his visage. Met by the Primarchs Rogul Dawn, Lorgar Aurelian, Ferrus Manus, and Fulgrim, the Night Haunter would envision dark portents of each of their futures.
Okay. I do remember, I believe in Fulgrim's video or Lion's video, they kept talking about Curze with the visions of the future, and they would switch between Curze and Night Haunter, and I was confused because by the last it took until the final third of the video for me to realize Curze and the Night Hunter is the same person, Night Haunter. And I apologize, because if you guys watch the same video, you'd be like, well, you're dumb. I can be, so I can't argue at that. But I think that was Luton 9, and now in general I find Luton 9 a harder guy to follow because it's packed full of information, and it was a delivery. But fantastic channel. But my ADHD be kicking in sometimes. I be going back and stuff like that. But anyways, I really like this Konrad Curze guy. I really do. I like the contrast between he is getting rid of the most heinous people, but he's chewing them up. He is a very dark dictator that made his planet actually better. Like, it was actually better. And I feel because of how heinous it was, it required someone as heinous as Konrad Curze to change it. Because if it was a just and righteous person, they would always die through their ideals. Hypothetically, there's people that are strong, like that one that's big on justice. I forgot his name. Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn could probably beat these people in the submission, but it's like they're so rotten or decayed as a society that you can't use goodness sometimes to influence them because it doesn't work. They don't have any good. You have to like get their kids. You have to wipe out all the adults and like raise the kids to be good. They're so corrupt that you have to use their own language, fear, to keep them under control. There's even some regions of the world, I'm going to be very careful how I speak about this, but we try to export democracy onto groups of people who don't want democracy. They're not asking for it. And in certain regions, they just do better with a certain type of control. I'm really choosing my words carefully because I don't really want to argue about the nuances of this particular subject, but we just know that sometimes when we export democracy to people who do not want it and are not ready for it, it doesn't really work out. It often doesn't. So when a person or a group of people is used to being ruled a certain way, that is the best way for order to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be good or righteous, but for order to happen. And the only way you can change it is if the population themselves rise up, and they themselves decide they want democracy or whatever, and then they push the older system out. And that's because there's a base of people that have sprinkled the foundation of this new government. But if you don't have enough of the population that even knows what you're talking about, and you go and export, they just reject you, especially if you're trying to use virtue and good morals or whatever. You're just going to get bodied, then you have to do evil, and then once you do evil, you confirm that you are also the enemy, and you can't go back to preaching a good message because you just wiped out a village. It doesn't work. So I went on a long tangent to tell you that I love this Konrad Curze guy right off the beginning of this video. And I'm going to refer to foreign policy and war a lot because that's what I know. And if you guys can realize, that's part of the reason I like Warhammer, because I often see the religious and military things I'm interested in present in this universe.
Portents of each of their futures. Meeting the Emperor of Mankind, the Night Haunter would be overwhelmed by a vision so terrible he would sink to his knees and attempt to claw his own eyes from their sockets.
Oh my god.
Ending his torment with a touch of his hand, the Emperor would utter, "Be at peace, Konrad Curze. I have arrived, and I intend to take you home." Submitting to the Emperor of Mankind, the Night Haunter would refuse to adopt his supposed name, given by his father. Brought to Holy Terror to study the doctrines of the Legiones Astartes under the tutelage of the Phoenician, Fulgrim, Konrad Curze would with time be installed as the leader of his legion. Naming them the Night Lords, the Eighth Legion would quickly become synonymous with brutal and decisive victories. A humorless, yet efficient army, the Night Lords would employ torture, terror tactics, and merciless persecution of any dissenting opposition. Yet with the absence of the Night Haunter, his homeworld of Nostramo would descend once more into rampant criminality with his absence.
Of course.
Claiming the Night Lords to be nothing more than murderers, gifted with the strength of godlike beings, the Nabal of Nostramo would rebel. Konrad Curze would regard his sons in a similar manner, seeing them as unworthy, yet necessary tools to bring compliance to the lawlessness of the galaxy.
The lawlessness of the
Believing
galaxy.
peace could only be achieved through methods of instilling terror within non-compliant worlds, the Night Haunter would slay his own legionaries should they delight in the act of mutilation and slaughter for their own personal gratification. Instilling within his legion that such methods were merely tools to achieve peace, Curze would be disgusted
Don't enjoy
at
it.
his son's flagrant degeneracy. Bringing worlds into compliance through many atrocities, though his brother
What a
Primarchs
twisted
would decry
brother.
his methods, Curze would maintain that his actions, though harsh, would allow for the least amount of bloodletting.
I can see
Hypocritical
that.
in his own enjoyment of inflicting pain unto his victims,
Is he a
the Night
hypocrite?
Lords would only disguise their enjoyment of their craft from their gene father.
Makes sense.
Their sinister nature left unaddressed by their Primarch due to the constant harassment of his own visions of the future. The Nostraman recruits to the Night Lords would further exacerbate their legion's downfall, as each initiate would encompass their homeworld's descent back into delinquency.
Dang.
The rot had been set within the 8th Legion, and with the preponderance
You know what, man? I am not even too surprised. We gotta talk about this real quick. Konrad Curze already walks a thin line. Like, he does all these heinous acts, but I get it. It's very hard to duplicate that because he of himself is already on a line, and I don't know what holds up this man's psyche. It could be the fact that he is a son of the Emperor of Mankind. That's the only thing that kind of keeps him from like having all this fall apart in his mind. But the way that you live and you have other people following you and issuing out your commands, it's actually hard for people to do what he's doing and not start to enjoy it. Here's what I'm saying. It takes a special kind of person to go around heinously murdering people as Konrad instructs his legion to do. The only way, in my opinion, to get over it or be okay with it is to actually become sick yourself and take pleasure in it. Otherwise, you're just going to be sick to your stomach. So, the fact that his legion would feel joy and a thrill out of it is like, that's actually normal. It's not normal to go around heinously murdering people. That is not normal. What is normal, if you do that habitually, that you enjoy it. That is normal because that's the only way that you can imagine doing it for so long. But he's built differently. You know, Konrad Curze is like, I gotta do this. But his other people don't have that conviction. I gotta do this is what he's seeing. And that is tough, man. When he's murdering people, he's like, see what you made me do? I didn't want to do this, but I have to. Why? But it's very hard for other people to adapt that. They're just like, I love it. I love it, a game. Like, that's crazy. Don't enjoy it.
of the Legion now born of Nostramo and its culture, the downfall of the Night Haunter would be inevitable.
Sad.
Tormented by visions of betrayal and fratricide, the Night Haunter
Fratricide.
would delve further into the clutches of madness. Confiding in his mentor, Fulgrim, the Primarch of the 3rd Legion would relay the Night Haunter's
Phoenician.
mad ravings to the Primarch of the Imperial Fists, Rogel Dawn. Incensed at the slight made against his brethren and the Emperor, Dawn would confront Konrad Curze. Found unconscious, with deep gouges left in his torso, the Primarch of the 7th Legion would lay at the side of Konrad Curze. Weeping and racked with guilt, Curze would be imprisoned for his assault of his brother.
What? Oh, did I read
As
that
the Primarchs
right?
discussed the means of how to
Or
deal
hear
with
that
their
right?
brother, the Night Haunter would escape his bonds and slay the Imperial Fist Huskarls stationed to guard his chambers.
Oh, that's terrible.
Escaping with his legion, the Night Haunter would travel to his homeworld to seek solace.
And find that it's not
Yet
what he
upon
left it
arrival
as.
to Nostramo, Konrad Curze's remaining sanity would break.
His remaining
During 984.M30, the Night Haunter would discover the fate of Nostramo. Once more corrupted by ceaseless crime, the vengeance of the Primarch of the 8th Legion would be unequivocally merciless.
Jeez.
Firing laser bombardments into the rend in the planet's surface, originally made by the Primarch's gestation pod, Nostramo's molten core would detonate.
What?
With Imperial pursuit craft sent in the wake of Rogel Dawn's injuries, Witnessing Nostramo's destruction,
He destroyed the
the
whole
depravity
planet?
of the Night Haunter would soon be relayed to the Emperor.
Oh.
Recalled to Holy Terror, Konrad Curze would answer for his crimes. Explaining to the Emperor that his actions were justified, Curze would accuse the Imperium of hypocrisy in their own dealings of bringing worlds into compliance and utilizing exterminatus to any whom would deny the imperial truth.
Call him out,
His
Curze.
excuses would not satisfy the judgment of the Imperium, and as a result, the Imperium would deny the Eighth Legion supplies to their dominions and banish them from the forefront of the Great Crusade.
Oh, he just banished him. That's all
Yet
he
despite
did.
his punishment, Curze would seek vindication for his actions. And soon, an opportunity for revenge would present itself.
Here we go.
The Horus
See-
heresy, perpetrated by
See, I remember Perturabos. Curze, he's doing a great job with Curze. Curze is just absolutely making sense. Do I agree with all his decisions? Nah, but it's like, I see. He was taken from his home world and it went to shit. He came back and just wiped it all out. And he's like, yo, man, you guys do atrocities across the galaxy. When I do it, I'm the crazy one. And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think he had to take out the whole planet, but I'm going to assume that the planet was almost beyond saving. Like, it was just that corrupt. I told you earlier that it can only be ruled by fear, and I understood that when he was doing that, it was because there was no other way. It was that cooked. So in order for you to turn this into a good population, you basically have to wipe out all the people above the age of 10. I don't know. And then, nope, there was 10-year-olds that got too much memories. You got to wipe out anyone who has memory and then raise the next generation. But by then, it's too much. That's like 95% of the population gone. So you might as well send 2 Saiyans on the planet, wipe it out, and then sell the planet to somebody else. Problem is, Konrad Curze just destroyed a viable, life-giving planet. But I guess there's a billion of these in the galaxy, so who cares? But I saw that planet was so far gone, Curze was like, yeah, I just gotta get rid of it.
the War Master of the Imperium.
That's my opinion.
Horus Lupercal would coincide with the prophesied visions of the Night Haunter.
This guy
Believing
Horus.
his visions to be unchangeable, the Primarch of the Eighth Legion would surrender all responsibility for his actions and side with the traitor war effort. Choosing to enact his vengeance against the Emperor,
It was gonna
Konrad
happen
Curze would
anyways.
lead his men to the Battle of Istvan V,
Emperor should have
aiding
wiped
the
him out.
traitorous betrayal of the loyalist forces of the Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard.
Aiding.
The Night Lords would revel in their slaughter of the Imperium's noble sons.
Ooh.
As the Night Lords butchered the loyalist
Did I get this
Astartes,
right?
Lorgar
The Salamanders
Urequian's
fell to
noble
chaos?
son, choosing to enact his vengeance against the Emperor.
It sounds like Konrad Curze was like, yo, according to my visions, this emperor gonna die anyways, so I'm gonna sneak him. Why should I get to not participate if according to my visions he's gonna go down anyways? I might as well get the get back. Again, Konrad Curze makes sense.
Konrad Curze would lead his men to the Battle of Istvan V, aiding the traitorous betrayal of the loyalist forces of the
Aiding the treacherous betrayal of the loyalist forces of the Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard. Now, the Iron Hands is definitely loyal. That sentence structure just really confusing me. Aiding.
Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard. The Night Lords would revel in their slaughter of the Imperium's noble sons. As the Night Lords butchered the loyalist Astartes, Lorgar Aurelian, Primarch of the Wordbearers, would battle the Raven Lord of the 19th Legion. Besting the bearer of the word in combat, the Urizen's life would be spared by Konrad Curze, who would duel his rival in darkness, Corvus Corax, in Lorgar's place. Their claws struck, and despite Corax's speed, the Night Haunter would grab his brother by the wrist. Escaping Curze's grasp with the use of his jump axe, the Primarch of the Raven Guard would not risk dueling the Dark King of Nostramo. With the death of the Gorgon and flight of the Raven Lord, Curze would find a new subject for his depraved tortures and mutilations. The Primarch of the 18th Legion,
What?
Vulkan.
What? What were you doing?
Aboard his flagship, Nightfall,
Vulkan is what I
Curze would
want to know
attempt to
about.
break the will of the Primarch of the Salamanders. Finding the Primarch of the 18th to bear the gift of a perpetual, Vulkan's
Perpetual.
body, no matter how many times it would perish, would rebuild itself and bring new life.
That's right. That's right.
Seeing an opportunity to torment his noble brother forevermore, The Night Haunter would delight in slaying his defenseless brother time and again. For months, the Night Haunter would devise the means for the mutilation and execution of his brother.
I'm sorry.
Sating his sadism.
Yo, son. I don't know what y'all gonna think of me, man, but Konrad Curze is him, bruh. He captured his brother, who's basically immortal, and every day he plots and schemes about how to execute this man in a way that he's never done it before. Of all the Primarchs I've listened to, I feel like I understand Konrad Curze the most. It's like everything just makes sense. Of course you would do that to your immortal brother who's your ops. Why wouldn't you? Crazy. Sating his sadism with increasing extravagant displays of torture.
With increasingly extravagant displays of torture.
Wow,
until growing weary of his relentless returns.
Extravagant.
Tearing him limb from limb, riddling his body with bolter shells, and even disintegrating him within the ship's engine shafts. No matter the cause of death, Vulkan would be resurrected.
Disintegrating him within the ship's engine shafts? Engine shafts? Hold on a second. I gotta get a right visual here. What is an engine shaft? Like what? I see, yo. Like, this is what he put this dude through, and it just turns and probably just grinded him until he was nothing, man. That is an insane way to kill somebody. But it's not that he just, we're fighting in a factory and you fall into the engine shaft. It's shown that he's done other execution methods, and he's like, you know what I haven't tried? God dang engine craft. Like, how did he find himself in this situation that he was like, I'm going to just try the engine shafts? Konrad freaking Curze, man.
The ship's engine shafts. No
Disintegrating
matter the cause of death, Vulkan would be resurrected.
And Vulkan returns in the same
Unable to break the will
spot?
of the Lord of Drakes, his attempts to break Vulkan with a variety of methods would always fail. Devising a final trial to end the perpetual Primarch's resolve, Curze would beseech the Primarch of the Iron Warriors, Perturabo, to construct a labyrinth to destroy Vulkan's resolve. Teasing at the center of the labyrinth, Vulkan's personal warhammer, Dawnbringer, Curze would not expect the Primarch of the Salamanders to reach his prize. Yet with tireless, unrelenting drive, Vulkan would reclaim Dawnbringer. The warhammer had been fitted with a secret teleporter within its construction, and after attempting to prevent Vulkan's escape, Curze would be struck by Dawnbringer before Vulkan would activate its teleporter and escape to the Ultramar system.
Wow, Vulkan did it! Shout out to my boy Thor.
The Night Haunter's ever-increasing distractions during the Traitor War effort, War Master Horus Lupercal would dispatch the Night Lords at the forefront of their push to Holy Terror.
War Master, I'm sorry, this is actually one of my favorite videos, I ain't gonna lie. In the wake of the Night Haunter's ever-increasing distractions during the Traitor War effort, War Master Horus would dispatch the Night Lords at the forefront. Aren't the Night Lords... God dang it. Curze's people?
Master Horus Lupercal would dispatch the Night Lords at the forefront of their push to Holy Terror, sending a message across the stars that any whom did not kneel would be gifted untold miseries.
It definitely is.
The Night Lords would enact the War Master's remorseless will. Harbingers of the traitor's bloodlust and cruelty, the Night Lords would for months be unopposed in their campaign of defilement.
And they love it.
Yet within the Framas sector, the Night Lords would be halted by the First Legion, the Dark Angels. For 3 Terran Standard years, the 1st and 8th Legions would wage a bitter war.
3 Terran Standard years. Okay.
Nobility and discipline would face opprobrium and barbarity. Leading his men during the Framas Crusade, Konrad Curze would delay the Dark Angels from interfering with the plots of the War Master. Under the command of their Primarch, Lionel Johnson, the First Legion would prove to be more than a match for the Night Lord's underhanded tactics and cunning. Attempting to sway the Lion to join the War Master's cause, Curze would parley with the Lord of the First. On the planet of Sagwalza, The Primarchs would face each other. The Lion would reject the Night Haunter's offer and attempt to slay Curze. The Lion's sword would clash against Curze's lightning claws, mercy and forgiveness. Two of the greatest duelists of the Primarchs would descend into brawling as they disarmed and wounded one another. Yet eventually, Curze would gain the upper hand.
Cool.
Denied the killing blow against the Lion, the Dark Angel's Seneschal, Corswain, would bury his sword in the back of the Night Haunter. Both legions would reinforce the Primarch's positions and drag their wounded liege lords from the skirmish.
Dang.
Yet when the legions would clash again, the Dark Angels would prove to be the greater strategists. Ambushing the Night Lord's fleet, the Primarchs would once again duel. Slaying the Night Lord's elite Atramentar and destroying the 8th Legion's fleet, the Dark Angels would prove to be an indomitable foe. Yet the Night Haunter would not be so easily slain, and escape the Lion within his own flagship.
Escape the Lion within his own flagship.
For months, Konrad Curze would stalk the dark corners of the Dark Angel's flagship, Invincible Reason.
Massive ships.
Cut off from the wider Imperium with the birth of the Ruinstorm, the First Legion would relocate their might to the burgeoning Imperium Secundus of Ultramar. The home system of the Ultramarines Primarch, Rabute Guilliman, Macragge would be the seat of power for the contingent new Imperium should the Emperor be slain by the War Master. Yet upon the First Legion's arrival to Macragge, Curze would escape from the bowels of the Invincible Reason. Wreaking havoc among the populace of the Ultramarines' homeworld, the combined might of the Primarchs of the 1st, 13th, and newly arrived 9th Legions would hunt the Night Haunter. Primarch Rabute Guilliman of the Ultramarines would elect the
I don't even think this planet is even bad, man. Night Hunter, they just brought a plague with them, and then he just started bodying the population.
Primarch of the Blood Angels,
shout out to my goat.
Sanguinius, as the Imperator Regis of the new
Sanguinius.
contingent
That's the name I was
empire,
trying to remember earlier.
with Lionel Johnson appointed as Lord Protector
My bad.
of
I
the
know y'all get
Rabute
mad if I
Guilliman
talk over
hunt,
things.
the Night Haunter. Primarch Rabute Guilliman of the Ultramarines would elect the Primarch of the Blood Angels, Sanguinius, as the Imperator Regis of their new contingent empire, with Lionel Johnson appointed as Lord Protector of the Imperium Secundus. It would be his duty to enforce the campaign to apprehend the Night Haunter. Despite the Dark Angel's attempts to thwart the rampage of Konrad Curze, the Night Haunter would come close to crippling the Loyalist research of the Sofa device, ministered by the Imperial Fist Captain, Alexis Pollux. Confronted by Rabute Guilliman and the Lion within the fortress of Hera, Curze would detonate explosives concealed within the temple. Before dealing the killing blow, the Loyalist Primarchs would be rescued by the ministrations of the Loyalist Warsmith, Barabbas Antioch, and Alexis Pollux, by once more utilizing the Sofa device. Unaware of their survival, Curze would turn...
The Sulta device. Sorry, rather than just like, I forgot what that is. Let me just go back here. Sulta device, Warhammer. The far-flung world close. Sulta. What is a Sulta device? Destroyed by planet Sulta. The Pharaohs was a biological. The Pharaoh. What is the Sulta device? Maybe I should quote it. I feel like they already mentioned it a few times, but this is the first time it's no AI available for that function. It's harness psychic energy to guide navigation through the warp, much like okay, they talk about that all the time. They do actually talk about that in various videos. This is the first time I'm like, yo, what? Okay, all right. To guide navigation through the warp, much like the astromech, which is smaller in scale. Okay.
His attentions to add one final wound to the Ultramarines Primarch. Within the capital city of Macragge, the Night Haunter would attempt to slay Rabute Guilliman's adoptive mother, Tarasha Newton.
For no reason.
Hindered by the Space Wolves, appointed to monitor the Ultramarines Primarch, Curze would nonetheless seemingly be unopposed in slaying the mother of the Lord of
She was
Ultramar.
beautiful.
Yet against the odds, the reborn Primarch of the Salamanders, Vulkan, would face Curze. In spite of the intervention of the perpetual John Grammaticus and Curze's banishment into the Warp, the Night Haunter would not be denied so easily. Infiltrating the throne room of Macragge, the Night Haunter would confront his vision-attuned brother, Sanguinius. Seeking answers for why the great angel still remained loyal, despite the visions that he had endured. Curze would never understand the loyalty he had shown the Emperor. Offering Sanguinius the chance to end his misery, the great angel would abstain from slaying his brother, and Curze would escape once more into the dark corners of Macragge. With the return of Lionel Johnson and Rebute Gilliman, Curze would finally be brought to justice.
Curze!
Captured and brought before trial to judge him for his crimes. The proceedings would be conducted by the Emperor of Imperium Secundus, Sanguinius. Admitting to his actions, Curze would not accept any guilt for his misdeeds. Turning the Lion and Gilliman against one another due to the methods the Lord of the First had used to root out the Night Haunter, the Lords of Imperium Secundus would fracture. Dissolving their new Imperium, Gilliman and Sanguinius would in private decide to execute the Night Haunter, yet with the intervention of Lionel Johnson, stay their hand. Repeating Curze's claim to observe his own death at the hands of an agent of the Emperor, the Lion would surmise that the Emperor still ruled Holy Terror. Hope burgeoned in the hearts of the Primarchs, and with Sanguinius' own visions of his death at the hands of the War Master, the Loyalists with Curze in their custody would venture to breach the Ruin Storm.
Is this where Sanguinius always knew he would die at the hands of the War Master, and he did something so that the Lion would not be called the War Master? Thus, it went to Horus. Is that what it was? I have this story in my mind, Sanguinius, but I didn't have the characters enough. I was like, what? What are you guys talking about? But now that I hear Sanguinius' side a little bit, and I'm not as confused on who the Night Lord is and Konrad Curze, I'm like, I think this is what it was. Somebody didn't want the Lion to get the title of War Master, and they wanted it to be anybody else. It ended up being Horus, and that was like a good thing, because someone was going to do the betrayal. It just didn't, and it would be whoever has the title of War Master, right? Anyways.
Chaining the Night Haunter within the bowels of the Invincible Reason, the Lion would endure the taunts of his degenerate brother. Upon the world of Darwin, the Primarchs would drag Curze to the temple, wherein the War Master had been first corrupted. With the eruption of demons from a portal within the temple, Curze would once more be shackled within the Dark Angel's flagship as the Loyalists countered the demonic incursion. Finding a means to breach the storm, the Dark Angels and Ultramarines would buy time for Sanguinius and his Blood Angels to venture to Holy Terror. Taking custody of the Night Haunter, Sanguinius would bring to him the Emperor's judgment. Yet once aboard the Red Tier, Curze would be confined within a stasis coffin and jettisoned into space by the Great Angel. Sanguinius would tell the Night Haunter that, alike to himself, he must follow his own envisioned path. Adrift for many years, Curze would survive into the following millennia. The Horus Heresy would end, with the Emperor slaying the War Master, and the traitors scattering across the stars. Discovering the salvage ship, Sheldron, the stasis pod would unknowingly release the Night Haunter among their crew. Assuming control of the vessel, Curze would journey for 4 years once more to Sagwalza and reunite with his disparate gene sons. Reuniting his legion, Curze would enshrine the Night Lord's base of operations upon the Carrion world.
I got a new question. Like, how and why do they accept Curze, like, when he comes back? Does he threaten them? And this is not the first time someone's been reunited with their legion, but in this specific case, how does Curze show up like, yo, I'm back after all this time? And they're like, yay! You know what I mean? I understood, like, sometimes, you know, they resist the Emperor of Mankind, and he would play a game, or he would use intimidation, or they will willingly accept him. I actually understand that side a little bit more, why they accept the Emperor of Mankind. he shows up with this massive flagship and this massive army. And it's like, yeah, you basically have to kneel or don't, or die, kind of. But like, that's my question for this one.
Accepting his prophesied fate, the Night Haunter would guide his legion on a path of self-sufficiency without his presence and await his killer.
Oh.
The Calidus assassin, M. Shen, would discover the Dark King upon his carrion throne. Unguarded, and with no obstacles preventing the assassin's path, the Godslayer would act. Slicing the Night Haunter's head from his body, the torment of Konrad Curze had finally ended. Yet whispers across the galaxy persist that the spectre of death shall one day return against all odds and records of his demise.
What?
For the shadow of the Night Haunter still stalks the galaxy, with the Night Lord's continued defilement of the Imperium in his name.
In his name.
By reason, by truth, I have learned how your hearts and minds function. With that law, I brought peace to this culture. At the cost of freedom, the Night Haunter drew in a slow breath through his knife-slit smile. Peace reigns as I reign. I wouldn't expect your little minds to understand. You are a little man with little dreams. You've ushered in the peace of the graveyard. The noble dared to take a step closer. Peace at the cost of surrendering all choice, all freedom. The city lives in terror, forced to live by the standards you place upon our shoulders. Yes, the Night Haunter replied. Yes. But every sin is punished. The Night Haunter listened to their hearts beating blood through their bodies. But punishment by death, no matter the crime, no matter the scale of the sin, the people of the city live in silence, lest a single word earn them death for speaking out against you. Yes. The Night Haunter closed his dark eyes, as if listening to that very silence, drifting across the city. Listen. Listen to the sound of raw silence.
Raw silence.
Is it not serene? This has been a tale of the great Imperium of Man, read by TheRememberancer. The Dark King of Nostramo would live his life convinced that his destiny had been sealed. Yet the Emperor teaches us that there are many futures that we must choose.
The Emperor
for we are
teaches
not
us.
the pawns of fate.
I like it.
For in my next transmission, we shall elucidate a Primarch whose future had been stolen from his grasp. The tortured gladiatorial slave of Nuceria, Angron.
Nuceria Angron. Ah, great video, great Primarch, great story. Definitely like Konrad Curze. He is dope. We're just going to go to the beginning if you guys want to stick around. And all it is, I'm collecting some of the dopeness that he mentioned earlier in the video. So let me get that. I really liked it. Let's see. Konrad Curze. It was a quote, man. Just get that.
It has been said by the tacticians throughout the ages of mankind that no plans survive contact with the enemy. I do not waste my time countering the plans of my foes, brother.
I never care for what they intend to do, for they will never be allowed to do it. That's the line! Hey, folks, if you guys have great suggestions, use the pinned comment to suggest those under. That's where I typically look for things. But I never care for what they intend to do, for they will never be allowed to do it. Konrad Curze, the GOAT.
What they intend to do, for they will never be allowed to do it.
One more. Stir within their hearts the gift of truest terror. Terror. Stir within their hearts the gift of truest terror. I love it. I love it.
Within their hearts the gift of truest terror, and all their plans.
And all their plans are ruined in the desperate struggle merely to survive. Up. I think I got it. All right. Anyways, that is it. I wrote down what I needed to write. Definitely appreciated this video. I thought this was good. Next up, the next Primarch we have to cover is going to be
Virtues and glories.
from our homie, the Remembrancer. Our next Primarch. Oh, things are just out of order. I guess. Oh, there it is. We are going to Sanguinius. Ah, Sanguinius is next. Okay. Okay. I'm excited about that. And then Sanguinius is short and Ferrus Manus is short. It's surprising that those are so short and Konrad is so long. Pause. That's what she said. Peter Robbo was 21. I'm trying to see if there's a correlation to anything. Yep. There's some people I ain't never even hear of. Still, I look forward to getting to Horus, but we're going to do everything in order on this list. So, ain't no one ever talks about Alfarius Omegon. What does he do? All right, guys. And I say ain't no one to talk about him, like, so far, you know, like, in my world. I'm going to head out. I thank you for watching this video along with me. You know, I really love the story so far. It's a great universe, and I'm happy to be here. Until next time, I'm your host, Rock D. Lee, and I am out. And you know I couldn't stop at just one channel. Consider subscribing to the subsidiary channels for your boy Rock Lee, found in the description of this video. Thank you.